So if you try to create a product that is for everyone, you know, if you try to say, well, my product is for all females aged 35 to 55 in Australia, the problem is people end up asking, well, is this for people like me? Is this the right product for me? Whereas we want them to think, oh, this product was made for me.
This is the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast for entrepreneurs and business owners looking for cool online tools, apps and strategies to make business easy online. My name is Nick Cree and I'm your host. Each episode features a guest expert demystifying the online universe, sharing inspirational ideas and providing tested real-world strategies to help you get the most of what's available online to grow your business today. Don't be a slave to your business, get your business working for you. Subscribe now and get some great content and ideas for you and your business today. So, let's move along to the main event. And the main event tonight is all about digital products. So, to do that, I would like to introduce you to Steph Taylor. So Steph, I met one Saturday morning, and in fact, I was here in front of my computer. And in fact, I was here in front of my computer with a webcam that worked. And she had a webinar on about podcasting. So, and I listened to that and I thought, oh, she sounds pretty cool. She was pretty switched on. She had some great information, and you know, she was a good speaker. And I actually went and subscribed to her podcast and listened to a couple of episodes as well. So she took off with that there, and you know, in a reasonably sort of short time, I thought, this is great. People would love to learn about podcasting. Well, I certainly want to learn a lot more about it, because that's on my agenda to start this year as a podcast. So I thought, well, let's get Steph along here. So I rang her up and we got chatting, and it turns out that she's a digital, helps people and businesses create digital products. And really, if you think about it, a podcast is another form of digital product. So so we had a good chat, and I asked Steph whether she'd be happy to come and share what she does here, and she agreed, and so here she is tonight. So without further ado, I would like to introduce and hand over to Steph Taylor. So Steph, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Nick. Well, I'm going to try and get my slides up. And okay, so if I do that, I'm working off two screens here. So can you see my slides?
Looking good, looking good.
Great. Let's see if we can get them full screen now, one step at a time. There we go. Okay. So yes, tonight I'm going to be sharing with you guys 6 steps for creating a high impact digital product. Now, what I might do is try and get the chat box. I don't know where this chat box has disappeared off to now.
Oh, the controls do disappear somewhere when you've got full screen. Be on maybe, your other screen, okay. Or
I might look. We can live without full screen. It doesn't look as pretty, but we still don't have chat.
That's probably because your share screen. It just yeah, you can't see it while you've got your share on. So yeah.
Okay, we have share. We have chat.
Excellent.
Brilliant. Okay. You know, how to create a digital product, but how to also fail at technology, really. So, okay, so I'd love to see in the chat who here knows what a digital product is. Like what level of familiarity are we with digital products? Because there's no point me, you know, going off on a tangent and talking about how to create your digital product when you don't even know what a digital product is. So I'd love to know like where everyone's at. Okay, Kylie, thumbs up. Donna, not much. Okay, well, a little bit, good. Okay, cool. So basically when I say a digital product, it's some kind of product that you can leverage and sell online that doesn't require, you know, any physical components. So it's not like this pen that requires all the bits that go into it. It's not a service where it requires your time. it's purely a product that you can sell, 1,000 of, or you can sell 10 of, and it takes basically the same amount of effort to sell both of those. Now, the kinds of digital products that I usually teach people how to create are knowledge-based ones or info-based ones. So, for example, it might be one of my digital products is teaching people how to create a podcast. So I could work one-on-one with somebody to teach them how to launch a podcast, but that would take a lot of my time and I wouldn't be able to help as many people. So by selling this product that teaches people how to do it on their own, then I'm able to help more people and I'm able to scale up both my revenue and my impact. So hopefully that helps. Catherine says, I'd say ebook, course, program, membership. That is spot on. Also things like templates and sometimes like group coaching programs, those also do count as digital products. Okay, so Nick already introduced me, but hey, I'm Steph. I help brands to launch and relaunch their digital products. I am the host of Socialette podcast, and normally I would be a passport stamp collector, but right now I'm just, collecting different stamps in different rooms of my apartment. And if you wish to connect with me afterwards, you can find me on Instagram at stephtaylor.co and on Facebook as well, for Facebook.com/stephtaylor.co, but I'm not as active on there as I am on Instagram. Okay, so my biggest tip for you going into this training tonight is to focus on one product, one idea, not, oh, I want to create this ebook and this ebook and this ebook. No, we don't want to try and create 3 things. We want to just try and create one at a time, because otherwise it's just going to be overwhelming and it's not going to be as effective. So just keep that in mind as we go through this. Now, when you're creating a digital product, there are 6 stages, and you'll note that the actual product creation is only stage 5. So there are 5 steps that come in before you actually get to creating that ebook or that online course or that group program or whatever it is that you're creating. And I'm going to walk you through 5 out of the 6 steps, the first 5, at a relatively high level. So normally I would teach this in a 3-hour workshop, but obviously we don't have 3 hours. So it's at a much higher level than what I would normally teach, but just in the interest of time. Okay, so step 1 of creating your digital product is clarifying and validating your idea. So your product idea isn't just, I'm going to create an ebook about podcasting. Your product idea is also who the product is for, what problem you're solving for the people that you're delivering the product to, how you're solving this problem for them, and what outcome you deliver. So I'll go back to my podcasting example, right? So for example, I help business owners to launch a podcast through an easy step-by-step framework that allows them to launch a podcast in 4 weeks. So there I've touched on who I'm serving, the problem I'm solving, how I'm solving it, and the outcome that I'm delivering for them. So that is, if you're just starting to build that concept in your head, this is where you want to start. And I'll drill down into each of these things a little bit more, because, okay, the number one most important place that you need to start with your digital product is with the people that you're selling it to, the people you're serving. If you try to be everything to everyone, you end up being nothing to no one. And this is such an important thing, no matter what you're doing online or even, even physical product businesses. It's so important to be really clear on who you're trying to help, because otherwise it ends up being a bit vague and, oh, my slide's not showing.
Oh. No, you're still on the first slide.
Sorry guys. Sharing has paused. Bring your shared window to the front.
Oh, that's because you've got another window in front of it, maybe the chat window. So just click on click on the screen that you're sharing, and then it should come right.
Come on, technology. Now I've lost my slides completely. Okay, can we see them?
Yes, we can.
Brilliant.
We got the truth bomb now.
Oh, sorry guys. Okay, well, this would have just seemed like a lot of words then when I was going through the idea part.
It was good though.
Well, maybe what I might do, Nick, is I might send you my slides afterwards and then you can email them out to everyone, because otherwise there is a lot of content in here and it can be a little bit overwhelming.
Perfect.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So we got up to trying to be everything for everyone. So if you try to create a product that is for everyone, you know, if you try to say, well, my product is for all females aged 35 to 55 in Australia, the problem is people end up asking, well, is this for people like me? Is this the right product for me? Whereas we want them to think, oh, this product was made for me. So if you get really specific, you say, well, this is for female business owners between the ages of 35 and 55 who run a service-based business online, they are going to be like, oh, that's me. This product is 100% what it's made for me, rather than leaving them guessing. Come on, slides. There we go. So the next part of your idea is working out what problem you are solving for people. Because people don't buy digital products because they want to learn things. This is a big misconception. People think, oh, you know, people want to learn about Facebook ads, so I'm going to create a course about Facebook ads. They don't necessarily want to learn about Facebook ads. They want to learn, they want to be able to use Facebook ads to create more profit in their business, or they want to learn about Facebook ads so that they can get Facebook ads clients. So it's not because they want to learn something, there's actually another outcome that they want to get. For example, and I saw that we did have a brand strategy expert in here, so this is very lucky that I used this example. So let's say you're a brand strategy expert, right? Your audience might come to you and say, oh, I'm not making enough sales. You as the expert, you know that the reason they're not making enough sales is because they don't have good branding. But your audience isn't going around saying, oh, I need better branding. They're going around saying, oh, I need more sales. So a big part of this step is jumping into your audience's shoes and thinking, okay, how does this problem show up for them? You know, how is it manifesting in their lives? Not just what is this problem from my expert perspective, because you know a lot more than your audience knows. Also, if you have any questions as we go, pop them in the chat, and what I'll do is I'll check the chat as I get to the end of each section, and we can do that. And then at the end of this presentation, we'll do Q&A where you can unmute yourselves and ask longer questions if you'd like. Okay, the next thing in clarifying and validating your idea is, how do you solve your problem, the problem for your customers? You don't solve it with an online course. You solve it with something like a framework or a process or a philosophy or a methodology. Now, I always use the weight loss industry as an example here, because it's such a clear way of how different methodologies can achieve the same result. So for example, you know, if somebody wants to lose weight, there is the paleo diet, there's the keto diet, they can go vegan, they can, I don't know, there's whatever, Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, all of these different methodologies get them to the same outcome. But they're not buying a diet, they're buying into this methodology. So this one's a little bit of a tricky one to get your head around, but you've got, as an expert in what you do, you probably have some kind of process or some kind of framework that you work with anyway with your clients perhaps. And it's just a matter of articulating this. You might not even realize it. You might have the structure that you take your clients through each time you get a new client, and you've just never thought of it as a signature process. So this is quite a tricky one to get your head around sometimes, but you know, you'll find something in there. Okay, then you also need to work out what outcome you are delivering. So like I said before, people don't buy digital products to learn something, they're buying it for the outcome. You know, specific outcomes sell. And it can be a little bit scary, especially, you know, in the business space, promising a specific outcome. But let's use the example of say you're a business coach, right? And you're launching an online course that's teaching people how to make more money in their business. If you're telling people, well, my course is going to teach you how to make more money versus my course is going to teach you how to make $10,000 in a month, it's more, the $10,000 in a month one is going to be more easy to sell, because people who are the right customer, so people who haven't hit that $10,000 month, are going to be really drawn in for that offer, versus people who are looking at the make more money version, where they're thinking, well, I don't know, is this going to be right for somebody who's making $20,000 a month? So be really clear on what outcome you're delivering. It's hard because you can't guarantee that, but the idea is that if somebody were to purchase your digital product and go through your product perfectly, complete your process perfectly, and everything else being good, they should be able to achieve that result. But you're not responsible for them doing the work. That's where a lot of people get stuck. They think, well, you know, like if somebody signs up for my course and they don't complete it, then they're not going to have that $10,000 a month and I haven't delivered on the guarantee. That's not your problem. Whether they complete it or not is not your problem. Anyway, I've gone off on a tangent there. I talked about what if you can't guarantee the outcome. Okay, and then lastly, you need to validate your idea. And this is because you could have the absolute best idea in the world, but if nobody wants your idea, then you're not going to be able to sell it. You could throw hundreds of thousands of dollars in ads at a product, but if nobody wants it, it's not going to be profitable. So validating it is how we get around this fear of launching and nobody buying, because it's, you know, it's going out to your audience and finding out whether it's something they do want, whether it's something they would be willing to pay money for. Now, a couple of ways that I recommend validating it. You don't have to do all of these. At least one or two of these is always quite good. So it could be as simple as surveying your audience, you know, finding out what problems they have that you could help with, and what the dream solution would look like for them. You can interview specific people. So this might be reaching out to past clients or reaching out to your most engaged social media followers and saying, hey, can we just have a quick 15-minute Zoom call? I'd love to ask you a few questions. And in return, you know, I'll give you my digital product for free, or I'll give you a discount on it, or I'll give you 15 minutes of coaching for 15 minutes of your time. You can also create a wait list. This one's not a particularly good form of validating your product, because it's very easy for somebody to just put their email address in and join a wait list. It's not really asking for any buy-in from them. And then the last one, and also the most powerful one, is to pre-sell your product. So this is when you are selling your online course before you've made it. And this is actually, you see this quite a lot. So you'll see somebody launch the online course, sell it, and then they'll say or the first module kicks off on 1st of July. So they know that they've got students before they start the online course. Often, actually, what I really recommend, if you're thinking of doing an online course, a really good way to go about it the first time is to pre-sell it and do it as a group program. So you're showing up on Zoom every week and teaching them the content on Zoom. So then you are creating the content week by week, rather than investing a huge amount of time into recording videos, creating slides, all of that. You already have customers before you deliver it. And it's a much better way because you're getting that one-on-one feedback loop from your customers. Okay. So once you've got your idea and you've validated it, you need to choose what format your digital product is going to be. So, you know, is it going to be a membership? Will it be an ebook? Will it be an online course? Will it be a group program? The wrong way to go about it is to approach it and say, oh, I want a membership. A lot of people do this. They think, oh, you know, I want a membership because it's recurring revenue in my business, or I want an online course because I don't want to be committed to a membership. That's the wrong way to go about it. The right way is to think about what format is going to get your students the best results, how your students want to learn. I mean, you know, some people don't like being locked into memberships. Some people would rather learn in a 8-week group program environment than in a big membership with lots of people. What fits in with the business that you want and what fits in with the lifestyle that you want? I mean, for me, I used to have a membership site and I was locked into showing up live quite a lot, which was great until I went traveling. And then I found myself, you know, on the other side of the world, having to show up on Facebook for lives when it was the middle of the night. So you need to consider all of these things. And what's my last bullet point? It's hidden behind my other screen. Oh, what's the easiest for me to create right now? That is what I was talking about with the, you know, creating a group program via Zoom or creating an online course via Zoom, rather than investing time into recording videos and all of that before you launch it. That's a very easy, low-hanging fruit for you to create, is to launch this group program. So once you've chosen what format it's going to be, then the next step is to structure your content. How are we all going? Are we all keeping up? I know there's a lot of content and we're only about halfway through. So I'd love to, let me know in the chat box if you're completely lost or if you're staying afloat, please. All good? Yes, all clear. Okay, good. Cool. Oh, Catherine needs to leave. Well, Catherine, I will give Nick my slides to email out afterwards if you guys want them. So cool. Okay, structure your content. So this is probably the biggest myth that I hear all the time. And that is, you know, oh, more content means you can charge more for it. I often hear people saying, you know, oh, I couldn't charge $1,000 for this online course because it only has 4 modules. But yet that online course is teaching somebody how to, I don't know, scale their business, which that's a huge result for somebody, right? That result is worth more than $500 to that person. But because it only has 4 modules in it, people think, oh, you know, I can't charge that much for it. It's not about how much content is in your product. It's about how you get them from point A to point B as quickly as possible. So let's put it this way, right? I'm going to go back to the weight loss example because it's just such an easy example to use. So point A, they are at their current weight and perhaps they want to lose 10 kilos. Point B is they've lost 10 kilos. Now, if you think of it like this, which would you rather join? One that is 8 weeks, a course that's 8 weeks worth of content, or a course that's 4 weeks worth of content, and they both get you that same 10 kg weight loss? Obviously, you're going to go for the one that's quicker, right? Because you want the one that's going to get you that outcome as quickly as possible. And you might even be willing to pay a bit more for it. So it's not about how much content is in your product. Okay, how do you structure your content? Now, I would recommend that you brain dump everything you could teach out on a page, because as the expert, you probably have a lot of things that you could talk about. So you just put it all down on paper and then you cull everything that's not getting them from point A to point B faster, everything that's a nice to know, but they don't need to know it, that's actually slowing them down. So that gets culled. And then you go through and you refine it. It's actually, a lot of people think that, you know, like creating the content is the hard part of creating the digital product, but it's actually structuring the content in a way that gets them those results quicker. That's the hard part. And then once you've got that outline, you say, okay, what else can I remove from this? Okay. Then stage 4, package your offer. Nick, how much longer do I have? Do I have until 7 or do I have till 7:30?
That'll be 7:30.
Okay, perfect. Good. I thought for a second that I thought, surely it's not 7. Okay, good. Good, because we still have 2 more steps and a Q&A to go. Okay, so then we need to package up your offer. Now, your offer is how you'll present your product to your customers. You're not going to just say, hey, here's my ebook, because that's not very appealing. Instead, you want to be able to present it with a name. And when Nick was talking about that rhyme zone tool before, I was thinking, oh, this is perfect for naming a digital product, because, you know, like names with rhymes are always a little bit catchy. Your offer is also how much you're charging for it, whether you have a payment plan, possibly, what bonuses you're bundling up with it, whether you have a refund policy, whether you have elements of scarcity and urgency. And I'm going to dive into a couple of these a little bit more in depth. I don't have time to go into all 6 of them, unfortunately, but I will dive in. 6. I need to have my screen on a riser, I think. And then you have the case studies and testimonials, which are basically proof that you are able to deliver the result that you promise. Together, when you package up this offer, this should be enticing enough to take somebody from sitting on the fence about potentially buying your product to thinking, oh, this is perfect. I need this. I want to buy it right now. So I'm going to look at pricing, because this is where I find a lot of people get stuck. Naming is pretty easy. You know, bonus is relatively easy. Pricing is probably the toughest one, because we all have this belief that our audience wouldn't pay that much. However much that much is, we all have this illusion in our heads, oh, my audience wouldn't pay that much. Here's the thing though, okay? Have they ever spent this amount before, right? So maybe you think, oh, I couldn't charge $100 for my online course or my ebook because they wouldn't pay that much. But then your audience is spending $100 a month on a gym membership that they don't use. So just to put it in perspective, you know, they might actually be willing to spend that much. The other thing to consider is maybe if they really wouldn't spend that much, maybe you're marketing to the wrong people, and maybe you need to get out there and find more of the right people. The reason that we tell ourselves our audience wouldn't pay that much is because it's really scary to charge more, because that means we have to deliver more. We have to deliver enough value. And that little voice in our head thinks, oh, let's just play it safe, because if I don't charge as much for it, then if people don't like it as much, it's fine, or I don't have to live up to as high of a standard. So it's all just a story that we tell ourselves in our heads. And in reality, they probably would be willing to pay that much for something that delivers that result. Again, I know I've mentioned this, but I honestly can't emphasize this enough. The price isn't determined by the amount of content. Please, if you take one thing away from today's training, it's this: your price isn't determined by how much content you have. Okay. Then we come to the most important, I don't know the most important, but probably the biggest step, the most time intensive one, and this is creating the actual product. So everything that we've done up until now is just laying the foundations for creating this product. A lot of people will think, you know, I want to create an online course, open up a blank Google Doc and start typing up lesson 1 before they've thought about what they're going to teach in the course, before they've thought about who the course is for, before they've thought about what outcome they're getting for anyone. That actual creating the product, that outlining the lessons, that comes at the end. That's this stage here, stage 5. And really, it's not that difficult of a stage. It's time consuming, yes, but if you follow a bit of a process, and this is how I create mine. So I will create a list of everything that needs to be created. So, you know, it'll be, okay, I need to create module 1. I need to create lesson 1. I need to create the worksheet for lesson 1. I need to create lesson 2. I need to create the video that goes with lesson 2. I literally write down every single thing that needs to be done so that I can tick them off as I go. Then once I've got that outline, then I drill down. So I'll say, okay, lesson 1, let's drill into lesson 1 and outline all of lesson 1. Someone's unmuted, I think. Then once I've outlined each lesson, I will pick the tech that I'm going to use to record it, to host it. And I'm going to jump into these steps a little bit more. I'll share the tech that I use as well. Very basic tech to record and host my online products. Then I'll create any slides, any cheat sheets, worksheets. And then at the end, I will record and edit any video or audio that needs to be done. So step one is making that list of everything that needs to be done. Oh, I've just noticed Debbie asked a fantastic question. Some people in Australia charge in USD and some in AUD. What are your thoughts? Okay, so I'm very vocal about this one because I charge in USD. I'm one of those people in Australia that charges in USD for two reasons. Ultimately, like I think Australian customers are only really about 20% of my customer base. So that's fine for Australians. If it's in AUD, Australians know how much the Aussie dollar is worth. Nobody outside of Australia knows what the Australian dollar is worth. Whereas everyone knows roughly what the US dollar is worth relative to their currency. So it just makes it a little bit easier for people to convert it in their heads if they know what that currency is worth. And the other reason why I do it is because I run my whole business in US dollars. All of my expenses are software and apps. And when Nick said he spends $15,000 a year on different apps, I think I probably spend double that because everything gets so expensive once you start really scaling up your audience size. So everything is in US dollars. That way I don't have to convert it into Australian dollars, lose money on the fees, and then convert it back into US dollars. And Kylie says, it drives me crazy when Aussies charge in USD. I know it is frustrating. I find it frustrating as a customer as well, but from a business perspective, it's been the most logical thing. It saved me so much money as a business. Like exchange fees were costing me thousands of dollars a year. So it's worth, it's worth doing it. And Debbie says, do you then do a lower price point? Yes. So if I was going to charge 150 Australian dollars for a product, I would charge it as, 97 or 100 US as an example. So I do lower the price point. Okay. Okay. So back to creating the product. So like I said, step one is making a list of everything that needs to be done to bring your product to life. I personally use Airtable. I don't know if this is a tool that you might have covered in a previous meeting, Nick, but it's basically like Google Sheets, or I don't even know how to describe it. It's kind of like a database tool, really. And then I can see from an overview, okay, I need to do module 1, introduction. I need to outline that. I need to do the slides. I can tick it off as I go, and I can see where everything's at from a high level. Once I've got that high level structure, then I drill down, I outline my content. So, what exactly am I teaching in this lesson? My outlines usually look a little bit like this. So this is the outline that I used for a workshop I taught. So where I've got slide content, that makes it really easy for me to give the outline to my VA, and she can then format the slides for me. And I have my notes that I have for the slides that I can read off while I'm presenting if I need to. This outlining the lessons part can take a long time. And if you're creating an ebook, this is, when you're really typing up the ebook, it can take a long time. And this is usually like the dip, right? This is where you start to lose that motivation and you start to think, oh, like there's this other bright, shiny project over there that I want to go work on because that's going to be so much more fun. It's so much easier than working on this thing. But if you keep your eye on that goal and you just keep getting through it, it does get easier, I promise. Oh yes, consistent action or batching. So some people find that the best way to do it for them is, every morning, as soon as they sit down at their desk, the first hour of that morning is spent on creating their digital product. On the other hand, there are people who find, you know, blocking out a whole week just to create their product and smashing it out in that 1 week is a good way to do it. It really just depends how you work best. Oh yes, the fun part, tech, choosing your tech. So, I mean, obviously as it's a digital product, it needs to be hosted somewhere on the internet. It needs to be recorded. It needs to be created. A lot of people get stuck here because it's overwhelming. There are so many options you can choose. So these are what I use to record, or this is what I used to use to record. I no longer use the Blue Yeti microphone just because I have a better podcast microphone now, but it's a good beginner option. You can also just use the headphone microphone that you have. That's good enough, you know. I use a Logitech C90 webcam most of the time. I'm not using it tonight, but if I'm recording an online course, I would use that webcam. But otherwise, the built-in webcam on your computer is also fine. I use an app called ScreenFlow to record my screen and my slides. So it allows me to record the slides and it allows me to have a picture of myself in there as well. You can also just use Zoom. You know, you open up a new Zoom meeting with yourself and hit record, and that achieves the same thing. But then you can't edit it. That's the only downside. Same with QuickTime and same with Loom. You can use those as well. If you're doing, say for example, you're filming a video on your phone, you can edit that in iMovie. I'm not quite sure what the Windows equivalent is of iMovie. Oh, Corinna said, yes, you can edit Zoom. Corinna, do you edit it in Zoom or what do you use to edit it? I'd love to know. Oh yeah, you need a different program. Mov AV. Okay, cool. Well, there you go. You learned something new. And then I use GarageBand for audio or Audacity if you're using Windows. If you are doing slides, worksheets, cheat sheets, PDFs, anything like that, you know, you've got PowerPoint, you've got Keynote. Canva is my favorite. I created these slides in Canva. I got my branding designer to do up a template, and now whenever I'm creating slides, I just pop them into the template. Okay, now hosting your content is a big one. A lot of people do find this one difficult because it's, you know, there are things like Teachable, Thinkific, Kajabi. What's the other one? There's another big one. I can't think of the name. There are so many different places to host them. Ultimately, they're all very similar, but it's very, you can get caught here because something like Teachable does have a free option, but then they take a percentage of your sales. So that's not so ideal. It might work out cheaper at the start, but if you're planning on really scaling up your product and selling lots of it, that can get very expensive. I use Kajabi for my own business. It's really good for creating, you know, like a library. People can log in and they can see all of the courses that they've purchased from me. They can access all of the trainings inside the courses. It's just a very easy to use program. You can use it to create your sales pages. You can use it to create your checkout. You can use it to send emails to your customers once they've purchased. It all just fits together beautifully, seamlessly. If you're doing live calls or live group trainings, Zoom, you can't go wrong with that. I haven't found anything wrong with Zoom yet. Okay, let's see some questions. Does LearnDash host? I've never used LearnDash, but I believe it's a plugin that goes into WordPress. Am I right?
Yes, it is. It doesn't host, but it's a plugin for WordPress, but also other applications as well.
Yeah. So I don't teach, when I teach people how to create digital products, I generally steer them away from the WordPress side unless they have a strong tech background or they have a tech support team, just because there's so much more that can go wrong. I've heard of people having memberships where the entire thing has imploded and people haven't been billed, or people who've cancelled have been billed, and it's just so many different pieces to piece together. So I wouldn't go down that route if you're just starting out. And Karina says, same with Teachable on the next package up fixed fee. Oh, the one where you're paying for it and it's not taking a commission. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, they all are much the same. It does come down to a matter of personal preference. I do believe Kajabi is a good one to start with. If you're starting out small, where to start? I mean, if you're starting out really small, you can even start with just hosting it in Dropbox. So for example, you could have, I don't know, it depends whether you're doing like an online course or an ebook or something. If you've got a membership, then it's really important that you have some kind of platform to support the billing and everything. So something like Kajabi or possibly Teachable, I think, does memberships as well. But if you're doing something like an ebook or an online course where they just pay once, download it, then you can even host it on Dropbox. Yeah, okay, so small number of people in an online course. Or you alternatively, you teach them in Zoom. That could be an alternative. So then you don't actually have any pre-recorded videos in your online course, and you're just creating the content week by week. And then in future times, when you run that online course, you already have the slides created. And then you might think, okay, let's think about recording some videos to go with these slides now. Okay, do we have any other tech questions before I move on to the mindset portion? Because there is, believe it or not, there is a lot of mindset stuff that happens when we start to create digital products, because it's scary, it's new, it's unfamiliar, it can be overwhelming. Okay, no other tech questions. That's cool. If you have any other questions after I get through this mindset section, I'll let you guys unmute yourselves and ask away. But okay, mindset. So the big one is overwhelm, you know, that there's so much to do and I don't know where to start. So I'm just not going to do any of it. And I'm going to go and binge watch Netflix or eat a packet of cookies because it's easier than starting. I do this a lot as well, right? And this is what works for me. I don't know if this will work for you, but this is how I get over it. I write down everything that needs to happen. And then I break those tasks down into subtasks that I can tick off within 30 minutes. So rather than having outline module 1 as a task, I might say, okay, outline lesson 1 is one task because I can get that done in 30 minutes. I might say, you know, outline lesson 1 worksheet. That's a half-hour task. So those little tasks become a lot less overwhelming than looking at the whole thing. And then just ticking them off one by one, you start to build that momentum. You start to think, oh, okay, like this isn't too bad. Rather than just focusing on the entire thing, and rather than focusing on everything that needs to happen, just focus on the next thing that needs to happen to keep moving forward. That's how I overcome this overwhelm, because it is overwhelming. It's totally normal to feel overwhelmed. The next one is imposter syndrome, the old, who am I to be doing this? You know, I'm not an expert. Who am I to be teaching people how to launch a podcast? I dealt with that a lot because I'm not a podcasting expert. I'm not an audio engineer. I haven't even been podcasting that long. But the reason that what makes me qualified to teach that is I'm just, you know, I've been through the process. I'm a few steps ahead of the people that I'm teaching and I can get them the same result. So it's not necessarily about being the expert in what you're teaching. It's about being able to consistently deliver that result. Okay. A good way to overcome this is to grab a piece of paper and write down, what are all of the things that I've had to do? What are all the things I've had to learn? What have I had to experience? What have I had to overcome to, you know, that qualifies me to create this digital product? So maybe you have qualifications, maybe you have years of experience, maybe you've achieved those results yourself, the results that you're promising your customers. These things all qualify you to create your digital product. And keep that list somewhere that you can refer back to it, because I guarantee you that voice in your head will pop up and it will say, like, who am I to be doing this? What am I, like, who am I kidding? This isn't, people are going to laugh at me. You know, I'm not qualified. If you've got that list somewhere nearby that you can refer to it, it's a lot easier to overcome that imposter syndrome. And the last mindset trap, that we get caught in is procrastination. And this is usually caused by fear, overwhelm, or perfectionism, which is basically related to fear as well. So ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Am I afraid of under delivering? Am I afraid that my audience, my customers won't be happy with this? If your procrastination is coming from fear, then it's worthwhile getting to the cause of that fear. If it's overwhelm, ask yourself, well, what is just one small thing I can complete in the next 30 minutes? And if it's perfectionism, ask yourself, why do I feel like this needs to be perfect? Am I afraid of letting people down? Is that why I feel like it needs to be perfect? Okay, so that's a very high level of the mindset stuff that can pop up with creating a digital product. I'm going to open the floor to questions. If any of you want to unmute yourselves or ask a question in the chat box, I'm happy for you to do either of those. Nobody has questions. Usually I can guarantee I get somebody asking me, like, what if somebody else has already created a product with the same idea as me? That guaranteed somebody always asks me that question. So I'm going to answer that one for you guys anyway. And that if somebody has already created an online course in the same topic that you're teaching, delivering the same result as you're teaching, that's fine, because just because somebody else has already done it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that it's been done in your way, right? I always use the analogy that I use here is espresso. So the Italians invented espresso, and then everyone else went and created frappuccinos and mochas and all sorts of other ways of getting caffeine into your body. They all deliver the same outcome, right? You get that boost of productivity, that energy, that's the outcome. But somebody who is a frappuccino drinker isn't going to suddenly go and drink espresso. So it's about figuring out what makes you different from your competitors and finding the right people. Okay, cool. We're getting some other questions here. I'm partnering with someone to create a new online program. Any tips on dual creation in a partnership? Oh, I've never actually created an online program with somebody else, but I would make sure that you're both very clear on who needs to be doing what. And it's, that's going to be, I think just knowing exactly who's in charge of doing what, having deadlines for each other, and not, I guess it depends how you work together as well. I mean, I've noticed, like with friends who've done them, I've noticed people who have one partner that's the big visionary ideas person and then one that's the details person. Those tend to work really well in partnerships, but it's really hard to say without knowing your dynamic. But just as long as you know what you're both in charge of, that's important. Vera has asked me a question about podcasting. Okay, approaching guest speakers to get them into your own challenge or podcast. How do you go about approaching them if you're just starting out yourself? My biggest tip for approaching people for anything really. So, I mean, this would apply also if you are running a membership and you wanted maybe somebody to come and teach a masterclass in your membership, leverage your networks. So I don't know if you use LinkedIn or what platforms you use, but if you say you want to get, this amazing speaker into your membership, jump onto their LinkedIn profile and see if you have any mutual connections, if you have any friends in common, and then possibly ask a friend if they'll introduce you. That's a really good way to do it if you have no credibility, if you don't already have an audience. Otherwise, even just a really good cold pitch. I find people quite like voice messages on Instagram. It's a bit more personal than, the generic copy and paste, hey, will you be a guest on my podcast kind of message. If you can send them a voice message, they know that you took the time to send a personal message. Moana, oh, great question, Moana. Evergreen as opposed to time limited courses, is one better? Okay, so it's not that one is better than the other. It's much easier to sell a time limited course, because when people can buy anytime, they'll procrastinate it. Unless there's some reason for them to buy today instead of next week, they will almost always buy next week, because we think, oh, next week I'll have more money in the bank, or next week I'll be more motivated, I'll have more time, so we put it off. Whereas if you have, if you have doors closing, if you say, well, you have to buy before 8 p.m. tonight, you think, oh, I've only got, 40 minutes. I need to go and jump on there and buy right now. So it's a lot easier to sell doors close, doors open, fixed time ones. A lot of people think, I'm going to create a course and just put it on my website and people can sign up whenever. And that's where I see a lot of people getting stuck where they're just not selling them. So if you're starting out, I 100% recommend doing a doors open, doors close, limited time launch. Cool. Okay. Getting an email list is great, but now you can't use LinkedIn to get an email list of prospective webinar participants. Is there a way around this? I don't know. I'm very much against collecting email addresses in any way that's like not them specifically opting in. Most of my email list growth has been running paid ads to download a free ebook, and that's how they get onto my email list, rather than adding people onto my list when they don't specifically want to be on there. Janine says she's always sold her online programs before created. Now I've created 17 more individual programs and will sell before I create. Yeah, I think honestly, if it's the first time you're creating a new program, if you've never sold that same program to your audience before, selling it before you create it is such a good way to validate that people are willing to pay for it. Because you can ask people, you can say, do you want this? Is this product something you would buy? And they can say yes. But until they actually put their money where their mouth is, you don't know for sure that they're going to buy. Oh, great question, Nick. I have so much knowledge and some of it is very tech-based. How do I cull down exactly what people will understand without being a jargon splurter and that is useful to them? So you need to get really specific on where your audience is at and what their knowledge level is. And this might mean, that you have to create several different programs to reach a wider audience. You might need to focus on creating a very narrow product to start with. So you might say, this is for people with very basic level knowledge. So you can speak to them at that level of knowledge. And then once you've created that one and that one's running, then you might say, okay, let's go for people who are slightly more advanced. And I know this is the kind of jargon they are familiar with. This is what they need to learn. It really comes down to being that super, super clear on who you're trying to sell to, right? You want them to think, oh, this was made for me, not, oh, is this for me? So I hope that helps. Leora asks, for the charity event, is it a good idea to get paid ads? I don't seem to be able to sell the tickets. Yes, paid ads work, but the ads on their own they're not a magic bullet. You need to have everything else. You need to have everything else set up effectively. So it's worth looking at, okay, how many people have landed on the page to buy tickets? And of those people, how many people have purchased? Because if people are landing on the page and the text that's on the page isn't compelling enough for people to buy, then you can drive 100,000 people onto that page and it's still not going to sell the tickets. So it's working out where people are dropping off along the way before you put money into paid ads to get them to buy. I hope that makes sense. I think a lot of people think that Facebook ads are this magic bullet, but if the other bits and pieces along the way aren't perfect, then it can really let down your ads. Okay, Mark says, so once you start building an audience, how do you keep them engaged in terms of campaigns, etc.? Is it getting them to land on your page, like you said? I'm not quite sure what you're asking, Mark. So what I do to build my audience is I will run Facebook ads that advertise my free ebook or one of my free masterclasses. People sign up for that, then they get the download or they get the link to watch the masterclass. And then after that, they get emails from me. And then they go onto my normal email list. So I email my subscribers once or twice a week, every week, regardless of whether I have something to say or not. And then from those emails, I will send them to my podcast if I've published an episode I think they'll enjoy, or I'll send them over to Instagram, or I'll send them to YouTube. I'll send them over to my different bits of content to keep them engaged along the way. So it's not just me talking about nothing. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but
yeah, that's what I'm working with Nick with at the moment, and another lady, in terms of building my audience, in developing those campaigns and webinars. So that's how you build your email list as well, is by getting people to subscribe.
Yeah.
Rather than going through LinkedIn and downloading a list of emails and forcing it onto people.
Yeah, because so if you get people's email addresses onto your list and they haven't opted in for it, I believe it's actually illegal in some countries anyway, and they can then report you as spam, which then signals to Gmail, to Outlook, to Hotmail, to all of the email providers that you are a spammy sender, which means that then you're more likely to end up in people's junk mail folders.
Yeah.
So
and that's why LinkedIn have stopped doing that. They've stopped allowing you to download a 1,700 email list, emails of your contacts. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
No.
You see it a lot with Facebook groups as well. I mean, I must have added my email address into the comments in a Facebook group at some point, because I keep getting all of these emails from people who've just launched new businesses. And it's like, we've just launched. And I'm like, I have no idea who you are. Why would I buy your product when I don't know who you are?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Vera asks, my business is focused on helping people who are wanting to overcome very personal, difficult challenges in their life. It's highly emotional content. So I'm finding I get huge support privately through messages, but publicly people rarely comment. Although I'm very transparent, I'm noticing it's difficult to get their direct feedback on my content. Any suggestions for different ways to ask for feedback so I can tailor my content to what my audience is enjoying most, rather than getting crickets or I love everything responses? Yeah, that's a tough one. But if they're messaging you privately, then it might be worth going back and saying, hey, can we jump on a 15-minute call? Or once they've already reached out to you, then asking them questions in return, rather than doing a cold reach out to them. And making sure that you're not asking those questions in a public forum, like on an Instagram post, where they're not going to reply on comments, but rather, via Messenger or via email, or wherever else that you're messaging them privately might be a good way to do that. Also, if you have, I don't know if you've used Typeform before or SurveyMonkey, it could be worth putting together a couple of questions in a survey and sending those to them, and then they can answer those privately as well. Cool. Okay. Do you have any other questions, guys?
All right. Well, I think we're getting towards the end of the time. That was excellent, actually. There's one more question coming in. Oh. That's from Vera. How do you deal with the logistics of not being in the same room like this?
When podcasting, yeah. I record via Zoom or via Squadcast. Any of the online tools. I mean, most of the time, even pre-COVID, I was recording most of my podcasts remotely. It is a lot more fun when you're in person, because you can read the other person's body language a lot better. You're less likely to talk over each other, but it is what it is, right? I feel like your audience will understand if you talk over each other, or if the internet connection cuts out. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Awesome. Well, I think that's probably about all we've got time for tonight. I'm sort of sensing that people could ask a whole lot more questions, and we could be here through till about 9 o'clock and still going. But I, for one, found that an inspirational and overwhelming presentation.
Thank you.
In the sense that it's like, wow, there's so much to do, isn't there? There's a lot of moving parts in this here, and I'm the step number 5 guy. I'm the guy that thinks, right, let's just get in and write something, and but there's all of this pre-work. That's all the hard work, isn't it? So yeah. So look, I really appreciate your time tonight, and I think everyone here sort of appreciates your time tonight. So thanks very much for being so generous with your knowledge, and providing some really good content, some excellent content for tonight as well too. So is this something that that you work with people to help them do, or how do people get in touch with you if they've got questions or want to get into things in a bit more depth?
Yeah, so I'm not taking on clients for a couple of months now because I'm creating and launching my own new products. So I'm in my like little product creation bubble, but I do have this was actually an extract from my full 3-hour digital product creation workshop. So if you are serious about learning a little bit more of how to create a digital product, you can find that full workshop at stephtaylor.co/workshop. And I also do have a freebie. Actually, I have a whole slide that I should have put up. I put my slide up here with how you can get my freebie. Can you, oh no, you can't see that. You can see that now, yes?
Can see that now, yep.
Yes, so this is where you can find all of my things. I have a free ebook called the Digital Product Kickstart Kit. And it's basically a workbook that takes you through the steps that I've taught tonight. I also share a lot about product creation and launching over on my podcast, and same with my Instagram. And you can also find my website at stephtaylor.co. So that's where I live on the internet, all of these places.
Awesome. So what was that first link that you gave us? I'll put that into chat.
Oh yes, stephtaylor.co/workshop.
Workshop. Awesome. Excellent. Oh, well, look, it's extra special that you've come out tonight, considering you're, writing your own digital program. So
it's a nice change.
So so definitely thank you very much for coming out tonight. I'm sure people have got a heap of info out of it. I know that there are people here that are creating digital products already, so I know that tonight is going to be super helpful for them. And the fact that most of us are staying at home at the moment, so we've got all this time to be able to do it, or not. So if anyone's got any questions or whatever, look, and want to know more, look, feel free to throw some questions and things into business owners smashing it online. Start discussion in there. Steph may or may not be there, but you can certainly talk amongst yourselves. And I think sort of the whole process of collaborating and sharing sort of some ideas also sort of takes us forward as well too. All right, so that's it for tonight. Apart from next week, we are doing this again, and we have another guest speaker next week. I'm just confirming it, but I'm pretty sure. Oh no, that's the week after. So we've got 2 weeks lined up, but we've just got to confirm next week. But I can guarantee it's going to be well worth it. It'll almost be as good as tonight. Thanks, Steph. And it's at 6 o'clock, so that is up on the Zoom board now. So you can go to Zoom and register now. We'll get JM to pop the link into chat, so you can just click that there and register for next week as well. And tomorrow, for those of you that would like to come along tomorrow, we have an office hours Q&A which we run at 10 o'clock in the morning, and there is no agenda. So you bring your questions, you bring your sort of ideas. If you're looking for an app, you've got a problem, you've got sort of something you need to know with your digital marketing, bring it along. We'll workshop it. We'll have a discussion about it. I can't guarantee that we've got the answers, but we certainly will help point you in the right direction for those sort of things too. So that's 10 o'clock tomorrow. And I'll get JM to sort of, or Lorena to throw the link for that into chat as well, so you can join that. If he doesn't manage to do that, just go to the Business Owners Smashing It Online Facebook page, and the link will be there tonight and tomorrow. So you can just jump on and join. It is a free-for-all sort of discussion, and we do have some interesting discussions. All right, so thanks everyone for coming along tonight. Thank you again, Steph, and go and have a great night, and we'll see you online and back here next week. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast. You can also find me on social media and online. Just search for Business Owners Smashing It Online and Nick Cree, spelled Nickcree, all one word. If you like this and want to hear more, subscribe now. Until next time, don't be a slave to your business. Get your business working for you.